You already know that the U.S. Social Security program is in terrible shape, but you may not realize just how bad things really are. For example, are you aware that all of the money you've paid in over your entire lifetime is gone? The U.S. Social Security program is a pay-as-you-go program, meaning that your contributions, the money withheld from your paychecks plus the matching contributions from your employer, don't go into a special account under your name. Instead, the money you pay in is combined with all the money everyone else is paying in, and that money goes to pay people who are already receiving benefits. If there is more money collected than is needed to pay benefits, the excess funds go to the Social Security Trust Fund, where at the end of each day they are given to the U.S. Treasury and become part of the general federal budget, in exchange for a special type of non-marketable U.S. government security. According to the government's Social Security website at socialsecurity.gov, tax income is deposited on a daily basis and is invested in special issue securities. The cash exchanged for the securities goes into the general fund of the Treasury and is indistinguishable from other cash in the general fund. In other words, there is no money left in the Social Security Trust Fund. Instead, there are what President George W. Bush described as IOUs. Again, there is no money left in the Social Security Trust Fund. Just $2.65 trillion worth of IOUs. Where did all that money go? It went to the U.S. Treasury, where it became indistinguishable from other cash in the general fund, and was used to pay for our military, roads and highways, airports, and every other expenditure of the U.S. government, including $175 million a year so the Department of Veterans Affairs can maintain buildings it doesn't use, including a pink octagonal monkey house in Dayton, Ohio. $1 million to zoos to post bits of poetry to plaques on zoo premises. $150,000 for a critter crossing in Moncton, Vermont. $112 million in undeserved tax refunds to prisoners who filed fraudulent returns. Nearly $1.5 million worth of new toilets for the Denali National Park in Alaska, and way too many other examples of spending that are completely unrelated to your retirement goals. Each of those expenditures was approved by Congress at the specific urging of one or more members of Congress. Why? To earn favor among their constituents back home. Those expenditures are what we call earmarks, and they represent nothing more than a way for elected politicians to use taxpayer money, including the money that was borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund, yes, including your retirement contributions, to get reelected. In fact, according to the nonpartisan federal budget watchdog organization Taxpayers for Common Sense, appropriations bills in fiscal 2010 contain 9,499 congressional earmarks worth $15.9 billion. In other words, within the span of just 52 weeks, our elected officials in Congress managed to find almost 10,000 ways to help themselves get reelected by spending $15.9 billion that they couldn't have spent without borrowing the money. And much of that money was borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund. So yes, Congress has found a way to take all of the money from the trust fund, all of the money you've paid in over your entire lifetime, replace it with government securities, and then use that money for pet projects that would help them get reelected again and again and again. After all, elected politicians don't vote for things that won't help them get reelected. So every dime of our $14 trillion national debt was spent as a result of our elected politicians' desire to remain in office. Will anyone be able to find a way to repay the $2.65 trillion that Congress borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund? At the time of this writing, the best solution anyone seems to have is to continue to borrow money from China. How does that make you feel? So what's been happening for decades is this. Money is taken from your paychecks, matched by your employer, and sent to Social Security. From there, it either goes to pay benefits to qualified recipients, or it is deposited into the Social Security Trust Fund, where it is loaned to the U.S. Treasury in exchange for a specific type of non-marketable government security. And then it's available for Congress to spend any way they want. So naturally, they spend it on things that will help them get reelected. even if those things have absolutely nothing to do with you or your retirement. And now nobody can figure out how they'll ever be able to repay the money they borrowed because our country is over $14 trillion in debt, and that debt is increasing faster than it ever has. If you believe that elected politicians working within the same political system that created this massive problem will somehow find a way to reverse what elected politicians have been doing for decades, and then somehow find a way to repay the $2.65 trillion that Congress has borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund, despite having driven our national debt to over $14 trillion and still wanting to increase the debt ceiling, then I can understand why you might also believe that you have nothing to worry about. But let's all be clear about this point. As things stand today, it is a fact that all of the money you've paid into Social Security over your entire lifetime is gone. It was replaced with IOUs, then spent by Congress to get politicians reelected. And nobody has come up with a plan to repay that money. SocialSecurityProblem.com cuts through the political rhetoric and gives you the facts so that you can decide for yourself if you want to continue waiting for big government to fix Social Security, or join forces with tens of thousands of your fellow citizens and become part of a dynamic grassroots movement to replace a tragically failed government-run program with a powerful private sector solution.